Kalamazoo. Great news for Kalamazoo and Ann Arbor and the whole state of Michigan. Grand Rapids, you too. Calling all Michiganders. My friends at Bet Parks have you covered in Michigan with the Play Gun Lake Casino and Sportsbook app. All your favorite casino games that you can take on the go, odds and slots and bets and games, all in the palm of your hand. The Play Gun Lake Casino and Sportsbook app, the only app I recommend in Michigan. Right now, new users can join me and get up to a $1,000 casino bonus if you're not a winner in the first 24 hours. Roulette, Baccarat, Texas Hold'em, all the fun stuff. Plus your favorite progressive slots. There's never been a better time to play. Right now, new users get up to a $1,000 casino bonus back if you're not a winner in the first 24 hours. New users only. The casino bonus has to be wagered. Terms and conditions do apply. Why not see that website at playgunlake.com for details? Have to be 21 and in Michigan. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or the Michigan Problem Gambling Helpline at 1-800-270-7117. Time now for headlines from Smerconish.com, the daily newsletter. Why didn't he hand the stuff back? Why did he take it to begin with? The best insight that I have seen thus far is in today's New York Times. Maggie Haberman, Alan Feuer, Michael Schmidt on the front page of the Times, where the headline says, "A Rat Pack president prized his boxes of papers." I got to say, I think I share some of these characteristics with the former president of the United States. Let me read a little. So? Yeah. I can tell you think so already. During President Donald J. Trump's years in the White House, his aides began to refer to the boxes full of papers and odds and ends that he carted around with him as the beautiful mind material. It was a reference to the title of a book and movie depicting the life of John F. Nash Jr., the mathematician with schizophrenia, played in the film by Russell Crowe, who covered his office with newspaper clippings, believing they had a Russian code he needed to crack. Further along, one former White House official who was granted anonymity to describe the situation said that while the materials were disorganized, Mr. Trump would notice if somebody had rifled through them or they were not arranged in a particular way. It was, the person said, how his mind worked. Look, I'm an ephemera guy too. I got a lot of stuff in the studio, although not as much as I used to have. TC can attest to that. I hope that she will.
That's true. No, that is true.
I mean, we go through a KonMari around here from time to time. I don't think Trump ever KonMaris. I would really like to introduce him into that world. But I am an archivist. I mean, at home, and it doesn't take over the house. But you know that I love the Container Store. I've been to the Container Store many, many times, and I've got those clear bins that you get at the Container Store or Home Depot. I like the clear version so I can see what's in there. And I have a bunch of old stuff. And yes, I enjoy looking at it. And here's the observation. Like, if you were to see my stuff at home, you would think this is totally at odds with my kind of organized type A-ness. But like Trump, if you rifled through my things, I'd know it, TC, especially you.
The best example that I can give is when Dr. Maz is guest hosting for you.
Yeah.
The first thing, and is in studio with me, the first thing he does when he comes in is takes pictures of your desk. He takes pictures of everything on your desk so that when he leaves, he has everything back exactly where it belongs.
God, I love that.
Every single thing. Right. So, because he knows, and he's been with you for so long, and he understands that you will walk in on Monday morning if he's guest hosting on a Friday, and you will know if something has been moved a quarter of an inch. And that's the truth.
Yeah.
That's the way it is.
There is some, now what might sound at odds with that is that there's some dust on my console right now. Okay. In part because you don't like me using Fabuloso.
We got to deal with that.
Okay. But the point is,
there are other things to use.
But there's some dust and there's a bit of disarray. Okay. But Maz is right. I will know. Yeah. It's like I'm comfortable in this environment. Can I read more about Trump? And I made this point last Saturday on CNN. On CNN, I asked Catherine specifically, get me a photograph of his desk at Trump Tower so that I can make the point he's always been an ephemera guy. Okay?
Totally true. Picture the scene with the eagle when the eagle flies in and lands on him,
yes.
or whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's at his desk.
Yeah. Shaq sneaker. And so the New York Times now, taking a page out of my book, they say this. Mr. Trump has always hung on to news clippings, documents, and other mementos, according to more than a half dozen people who have worked with him over the years, including before his presidency. His office at Trump Tower in New York, a corner space on the 26th floor, had a desk that was often piled high with papers. He kept keepsakes for decades, including a series of letters written to him by famous people more than 30 years ago, which he later published as a book that he now sells for $100. Further along, in the White House, according to two people familiar with his practice, Mr. Trump was generally able to identify what was in the boxes most immediately around him. One of those people said he was meticulous in putting things in specific boxes, notwithstanding a picture released by the Justice Department showing a classified document spilled on the floor of the storage room at Mar-a-Lago. So, I'm not defending it. And by the way, the difference between my idiosyncrasies and those of the former president is that my stuff is mine. It's not the federal government's. I mean, therein lies the issue. But
small detail.
But I'm surprised that this didn't all come to light in advance of now and his problems. I'm kind of surprised that this is not one of the things, his obsession with having his toys at close hand. I'm surprised it didn't come to light sooner. I'm not ignoring, I'm not excusing it, but I do kind of get it. Just because of my twisted nature. Right?
Oh my gosh. You are the first person I thought of when I read this. I was like, he is going to completely understand. And then, by the way, that people are then going to say, oh, there you are supporting Trump again.
No.
It's not you supporting Trump. It's you, because you very clearly said these belong to the federal government. It's you understanding him wanting to keep things around him.
Yes.
Completely different.
Yes,
I'm very interesting.
TC,
he's a quirky guy. You're a quirky guy. That's the way it is.
I'm sure there's something in the DSM for this. Okay? I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is.
But every time we say that, then people say, "No, stop. Those are serious." That when you say like my OCD, then people get upset with you.
I'm being serious. I'm being self-deprecating. I'm admitting I have issues. And he has issues, and some of the issues appear to overlap.
There's overlap. Exactly.
Same was true.
That was a great piece.
The same was true when Mr. Trump left the White House. According to one person briefed on how he behaved, he knew the contents of the boxes around him. Some aides would periodically encourage him to condense the number that he had in his immediate vicinity. Another person familiar with Mr. Trump's habits said that when one box filled up, aides over the last 2 years would take it away and store it and bring him a new one. He's like Linus with a blanket. So...
It's so true.
Remember,
that's a great description.
You have to read this story in the Times with the one that I've referenced previously from the Washington Post, which was, I think, 2 years ago when they said that the federal investigators don't think that he was selling secrets to the Russians and so forth. Again, not trying to excuse it, never should have possessed it, should have handed it back. But no, this is more about him being quirky.
I understand. I'm like you. I understand. I actually understand it to a point. I understand him wanting those things. But when they explained to him that he had to give them back, that's where I stop understanding.
Of course.
I can't go.
I'm going to say that too.
The issue.
Yes, of course.
I know,
of course.
I know,
my stuff is my stuff. Okay. I got Harry and Meghan on my pen holder. It's my stuff. Okay. I want my stuff.
Your stuff.
Yeah.
Still giving you joy.
Yes. And when it doesn't, I'll throw it out.
Speaking of YouTube, someone on YouTube, Carrie, said, "Trump's your boy, LOL."
Oh my God. Funniest thing in the world. Funniest thing in the world. All right. More from Smerconish.com, the daily newsletter. Yesterday, poll results, 20,217 votes cast. Will POTUS 47, who? We don't know. Whoever it is. Will they pardon Donald Trump? 70.94% said no. I was in the yeses, 29.06. Today, Should race be a consideration in college admissions? This, given the Supreme Court of the United States on the matter. I recommend you go to my Facebook page today and look at the commencement address delivered by LBJ in 1965. This was June of 65, 2 months before the Voting Rights Act of 1965 was passed and obtained his signature. It's the freedom portion of the address. It's a 40-minute speech. You'll be about 5 or 10 minutes in, and you'll hear him say, "But freedom is not enough. You do not wipe away the scars of centuries by saying, now you are free to go where you want and do as you desire and choose the leaders you please. You do not take a person who for years had been hobbled by chains and liberate him, bring him up to the starting line of a race, and then say you're free to compete with all the others and still justly believe that you have been completely fair." It gets to the heart of what's intended in affirmative action. Watch the speech. I must say, I didn't recognize LBJ as being such a gifted public speaker. I guess I should have, given, Master of the Senate and his history. Okay, already referenced Ron DeSantis saying to Gavin Newsom, this was all because of the Hannity interview. Hannity says, would you do a 2-hour debate with DeSantis? Newsom says 2 hours, I would do 3 hours. Now DeSantis says, why doesn't he stop pussyfooting around? By the way, can you still say pussyfoot?
Evidently you can.
Okay, why don't you stop pussyfooting around?
Me too.
Right. Is there any other derivation except the one that we're thinking of? No. That has to...
No.
No, okay.
Correct.
So
Yeah, okay.
So DeSantis has said, why don't you get in the race? All right. Relative to Gavin Newsom, and I'm sure he wishes to get in the race, and I know that there's a paywall with the LA Times, but there's a piece in the LA Times today that is really worthy, and it is a profile of the California First Lady, Jennifer Seibel Newsom, and her life, and how, TC, it has been shaped by trauma.
Yeah, I did not know this about the First Lady of California. Evidently, I'm just going to read it because this is so hard. This is such a hard thing. So they're talking about how tragedies in her life have shaped her identity and shaped her identity at a very early age. And this is what they're talking about. A few days before her 7th birthday, she and her older sister, Stacy, were playing on golf carts with several other children during a family vacation in Hawaii. Seibel Newsom didn't see her sister hiding behind her cart when it went backwards, killing the 8-year-old.
How do you lead your life?
She's the second oldest of 5 daughters, a wealthy conservative family in Marin County. And it just, I like, my heart breaks. My heart breaks for that little girl. You talk about, in therapy, you talk about the ages of you still being inside of you. So I think of that 7-year-old still inside of her, and how do you cope with that? And how do you see your own children that age? I don't know. The whole thing just went right through me.
Terrible.
So I didn't read a hard read, and something that I just think it's good to know that. Oh, yeah. Terrible.
Yeah. And if you can't get through the paywall, it's then being picked up in other places, and you'll be able to get to it. But TC just gave you the heart of it. I can't stop going to the live cam that is showing me the construction on I-95, where recycled glass bottles are the quick fix to get I-95 back and up and running. And look, I think it's genius on the part of Josh Shapiro, the Pennsylvania governor. I'm giving Josh credit for being the one to say, let's televise it 24/7. The ratings, by the way, are pretty good.
Tell me.
Like, people are watching.
Seriously?
Yeah, no, there's a story. I wish I could tell you with specificity, but I can't. But people are going and watching.
Okay, that's hysterical.
Now, it's a risky thing because you're going there and, like, we want to see action. And if you go there and you don't...
24/7.
It is. But I'm saying if you don't see action, then it's going to come back to bite. But so far, there's there's been a lot of action. It happened last Sunday morning in the 6 a.m. hour. And already, they've completed the demolition, and now they're moving on to the glass bottles. Let me just read to you from the Philadelphia Inquirer discussing how this is working. Most of the glass bottles were put in curbside recycling bins, end up in a landfill or an incinerator, as the mix of colors and any contamination by other materials can often make glass recycling impractical unless Archie Philshill gets his hands on it. Philshill's Eddystone-based company, Aero Aggregates of North America, turns discarded glass into a lightweight, gravel-like material that contractors will rely on in the rebuilding of the damaged section of I-95 called foamed glass aggregate. It's being used to build up the damaged section of the Cottman Avenue exit ramp. Workers will deposit 15,000 cubic yards of the stuff to support a temporary 6-lane highway while contractors rebuild the bridge that collapsed in a tanker fire Saturday, yada, yada, yada. So
I mean,
amazing.
I feel like I feel really good about my wine drinking right now.
Yeah,
because
I've done my part.
I am correct. I feel like
I'm rebuilding that bridge,
impacting I-95, and I feel very good about it.
I have enough brandy in that bridge to support one of the lanes.
My Vigno Verde is 2 lanes for sure.
Okay, so that's Philly story number 1. Philly story number 2, and I know that I discussed this recently, but I'm discussing it again because in the Wall Street Journal there's an essay about it now attributing the changes at the Mutter Museum in Philadelphia to cancel culture. It begins this way: is a 9-foot human colon a symbol of colonialism? Don't laugh. That question threatens to destroy a beloved and bizarre institution in Philadelphia, the Mutter Museum, that housed medical oddities and arcana for 160 years. Yet a handful of woke elites are taking issue with its past and jeopardizing its future. It's a really good read. I don't know if they've already made these changes. The place is, I recommend it, especially, this will sound odd to some, but to kids. I mean, where else are you going to see pieces of Einstein's brain? Okay, because you can. And skulls and a malignant tumor that was removed from President Grover Cleveland, all at the Mutter Museum.
And it's still there? Like, that stuff is still, because I better go. I haven't been. I know, it's embarrassing. It's in the Euro
How did you
thing.
not take Emma back in the day?
Remember, I believe the last time we talked about this, you accused me of being a terrible parent. I believe.
I don't think that's true. No, just deficient in that regard with regard to the Mutter Museum. Okay, in other medical news, scientists report creation of first human synthetic model embryos. TC, what does that mean?
So evidently it means that they use stem cells as opposed to not using egg and sperm. And they think they're trying to figure out if this can then go on to be a viable fetus. Right now, we're not there yet. In other words, they don't have a beating heart or a brain or anything like that, but they're building them into the very earliest stage of human development and are hoping that they could help them understand why some women miscarry, genetic development, etc. So it's not like they're creating a baby without sperm and egg. They're just trying to figure out how the stages of development, let me put it that way, using stem cells.
Making the cut at Smerconish.com today, a New York Mag profile of Bill de Blasio. Now, there's a story out there about de Blasio today owing the city of New York for his security detail. That's not the story that we went with. We went with a profile instead where he assesses his biggest regrets, including killing a groundhog. TC, what happened?
I mean, it's not funny. I'm not saying that it's funny at all, but the way he describes it is funny. So they ask him about it, and they said, the interviewer says, on a lighter but more tragic note, do you have any regrets about dropping the groundhog in 2014? And I'm just going to read it exactly the way he says it, okay? Yeah, 100%. I'm like, don't make me hold a fucking groundhog. I mean, what the hell? Let me tell you exactly what happened. So the interviewer says, please. I go there and it's 7 a.m, which means my motor skills are not at their best. I put on these gloves and they're like, here's a groundhog. And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, don't you have a little more coaching to go with this or whatever? It was idiocy. Why would you want an elected official to hold a groundhog? I don't know anything about holding a groundhog. So the whole thing is just insane. There's the original sin there. Don't hand someone a groundhog.
It's great. It's really great.
It is hysterical. Yeah. I apologize for the language, but it was.
I'm offended.
I had to say it. I knew you would be.
Did a 21-year-old really nail a Rubiks Cube in 3.13 seconds? What?
In the time it took you to read that sentence,
he did it.
Solved the Rubiks Cube. Yes.
Do you remember we did a remote broadcast when Rubiks Cubes were hot? This is like 20 years ago at Good Nose Family Restaurant in Newtown, Pennsylvania, and there was a kid who did it within 20 seconds. Do you have any recollection of that? Good Nose, sadly, is... No. You were there. You were there.
I was?
I know you were there. I know you were there. Yeah.
Oh.
Good Nose Family Restaurant.
I found it interesting, that article, because I read that and I thought he's got to be some kind of genius, like some kind of savant.
Has to be.
He has autism, and they gave him a Rubik's Cube when he was diagnosed with autism at age 2 as part of his therapy, and he sees it. He looks at that. There's something in his brain. Isn't the human brain an incredible thing? There's something in his brain that he looks at that Rubik's Cube and can see it like that. I'm amazed at this.
3.13 seconds is astounding. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, couple of announcements, if I may. Monday is Juneteenth. We have a special broadcast in lieu of our live show here on Monday. Tuesday is Vivek Ramaswamy. The event's sold out, but you're all going to get to listen to it. That's going to be fun. Make sure you read Nick Espinosa's piece, Democracy at Stake, The Unethical Path of Tech Giants. That's at Smerconish.com. It's exclusive content. TC After Dark, she assures me I'm not referenced. It's titled Jerks at Work. Get caught up with her.
Jerkery. Work jerkery.
Is that a thing? Make sure you're listening to TC After Dark at some point this weekend, please. I will see you on YouTube 7:30, as long as there's not a power outage on Saturday morning tomorrow. CNN at 9, CNN at 3. I think that's all I have to promote. Smerch merch. Oh, Smerch merch. There's going to be a limited edition run of 100 T-shirts. I think that's all I'm allowed to say, other than
I didn't know you were saying anything.
They're strange and they're cool, and they're coming soon. So keep your eye on Smerch merch, please. Yeah, that's it. Have a wonderful weekend and a happy Father's Day. See ya.